Hey everybody, Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures.
We are right here at Greers Ferry Dam.
Yeah, Greers Ferry Dam on Greers Ferry Lake.
In Arkansas.
In Arkansas. Yeah, first time we ever been here. We've been here for 2 weeks, right?
Yes, tomorrow.
As of tomorrow, we'll be here 2 weeks.
Yes.
Tomorrow is when we head out to our new destination. All we're going to say about that is we're going to Lake Ouachita next.
Still in Arkansas.
Still in Arkansas. But anyway, now just on the other side of the dam is the Little Red River, right?
Right, that's what feeds this lake.
Right. And it's a really pretty river. What we're going to talk about here first is exactly where Greers Ferry Lake is located. Well, not exactly, but the close proximity of Greers Ferry Lake to the little town of Heber Springs, Arkansas. And Heber Springs, Arkansas is a really neat little town, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, it's got everything we need.
Oh, yeah.
Except
what?
a liquor store. It's got a Walmart, it's got a Dollar General, it's got a Casey's.
Yeah, it's got two Dollar Generals, as a matter of fact. And then it's got a Casey's convenience store, like you said.
And it had our RV repairman for our air conditioner.
And by the way, the air conditioner is fixed and working wonderfully now.
Yes.
Right.
So, and it has, oh my goodness, I think 13 different camp areas.
13 or 14 different campgrounds around Greers Ferry Lake. But one neat thing about Heber Springs also, you know, like we said, it's got your typical, it's got your Walmart Supercenter, it's got a Casey's convenience store, and a couple of others too. Got a few nice restaurants, got your typical fast food restaurants.
Had a laundromat.
Had a laundromat. And it also has a Ace Hardware. Now, it did not have a Home Depot or a Lowe's.
Not quite big enough for that.
No.
I think it's 7,800, 7,000.
It was a little over 7,000, somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 population. There's some cool things about the area as well as far as Heber Springs is concerned. The lake kind of wraps around Heber Springs a little bit, and they have a beautiful beach over there they call Sandy Beach. And yes, it's
sandy.
Super sandy. And I can only imagine how much sand they probably had to haul in for that. And I happen.
Sand is just not normal for this area.
No, no.
We have rocks.
This is rocks, rocks, and more rocks. But and I was cruising through Heber Springs the other day, and I happened to drive by this one auto repair shop. And they had this old, for those of guys that there's going to be plenty of you guys out there that know what I'm talking about, plenty of ladies as well. But out there on a car hauler trailer, they had sitting this really cool school bus rat rod. And I got a few photos of that.
And you got to visit with the man.
And I got to visit with the folks that built it, and it's really cool. And it's powered by a hopped up small block Chevy. It's got a big old blower on top with 2 Holley double pumpers on it. And it's also got a airbag suspension so they can raise and lower it. But anyway, it was really cool, and got to visit with those guys, and they were just really, really super guys. And I'm an old car guy, so I was in hog heaven there for a little bit as far as that goes. Nice folks here, nice folks in this town. Now, as far as the campgrounds are concerned, we're going to start, we'll talk about the one that we're at last. How's that?
That's fine.
Yeah. And we did have an opportunity to go look at a couple of other campgrounds fairly close to us. And the first one that we started with was the John F. Kennedy campground, which is actually on the river, just on the other side of the dam, which is right behind us here. And the first thing that caught our eye was there's this trailhead as you pull in. And we stopped there, and we were told about it beforehand, so we kind of knew what to expect. So we stopped there at this trailhead, and you don't have to walk down very far, maybe 200 yards or so.
Not very far.
No.
It's a nice little trail. It's an easy trail.
Easy trail to walk, which is important to us.
Yeah.
And you come up on this beautiful headwaters of Collins Creek. And there's a gorgeous waterfall area there. And of course there were a lot of folks there wading in the water, and by the way, the water is very, very cold.
Yes.
Correct? Probably in the 40 degree range, somewhere in the mid 40 degree range, somewhere in there.
Right. Well,
But it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful, and it's not very far down the trail and where you come up on this. So we really got a kick out of seeing that. And the neat thing about most of the campsites in this particular campground, it's a heavily wooded campground, and they have quite a few sites. I don't remember how many there were, but there was quite a few. But several of them back up against the river. Now, you have access to the river, and some of them you have a view of the river, but you do set up a little bit ways off of the river, and it's a good thing that you do. Isn't that right?
Yes, because when they release the water, or generate, as they call it, the river rises 7 to 10 feet, I believe.
A lot. It rises a lot, and it does it really,
Yeah, 'cause
really,
they
really
blow
quick.
the horn so you can get away from the river.
Right. So that's one reason why the campsites are way up high off the river. But you can walk down from most of the ones that are along the river. You can walk down to the river from your particular campsite. And we picked out our favorite campsite should we happen to visit this area again. And what one was that one?
15D.
15D.
It's right by the river. Has
Exactly.
a wonderful spot for your tent, if you want a tent. Had
Yeah.
a wonderful place for a trailer. It was just what we considered a really neat
Yeah.
spot.
And we're going to try to, from now on, whenever we visit these campgrounds, we will probably try to include what we think is the favorite campsite for each particular campground. That's a feature we're going to start adding from now on. So if you happen to come to Greers Ferry Lake and camp at JFK Campground on the riverside just below the dam, our favorite site there is site number 15D.
And just a little history buff.
Mm-hmm.
It's named JFK because this was one of the last stops that President John F. Kennedy made. He made this trip in October to dedicate the dam.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, he was assassinated in November.
The following November. Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
just a little interesting history.
And I remember that day. I remember that day when that happened. So, anyway, so that's the story on JFK. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the next campground that we want to talk about, and we thought it was a beautiful campground, and should we would decide to stay on the lake side of the parks again, if we ever visit this area again, the campground that we would definitely go to is Old Highway 25 Campground.
Yes,
Right?
and we had several spots we liked in there.
Yeah, several spots that we liked there. Now, one thing that we appreciated about that campground is there were several spots where you could have semi-easy access to the lake from your campsites.
Right.
And that's the difference between that one at Old Highway 25 Campground and the campground that we're at, which we'll visit about here in just a little bit. But we picked out several spots that we liked there, so we have a nice list. And but all we need to say right now is, and this is the one we're featuring in the video that you're watching, I'm sure, is site number G15, right?
It was one of my favorites.
Oh man, the
I could just see my kids jumping off of those bluffs.
Oh yeah, you've got bluffs just right below the site, and it's I wouldn't want to jump off of them because there's a way to climb back out and come back up, but it would be probably a little bit more for me until I lose a few pounds to do.
Well, that would be inspiration.
That's an inspiration. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But if you decide to come to this area to camp out, we highly recommend the campground called Old Highway 25 Campground. Google it, it's there. And it's a Corps of Engineer campground, of course. And our favorite site of all is G15. Now, the way they lay out the campgrounds or the campsites in these campgrounds around here, they go by like a Group A, Group B, C, so on and so forth. So if you're in the G area and you can pull up a map, and look at where G15 would be, I'm sure that the main reason why we featured G15 because at the time we were there was nobody parked at that site, so we could pull in and look at it real close. Now, the sites on either side of it are very similar, so if you went in and tried to get G15 and you couldn't get that, G16 would probably be just as nice, G17, so on and so forth along there. But when you look on the map, you can see what the ones that are next to G15, and those all have a beautiful, gorgeous view of the lake. I can just see us waking up early in the morning as the sun comes up, stepping out of the trailer, going over to the picnic table, or folding out our favorite umbrella chair, and just sitting there drinking coffee and looking at the beautiful view there. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's my take on that. How about you?
Oh yeah, that was my favorite.
Absolutely. Yeah. Now, we'll talk about the campground that we're at.
We are at Dam Site Campground on Greers Ferry Lake. I started to say the wrong lake.
Yeah.
Usually, we have found that water close to the dam is crystal clear.
Mm-hmm.
And it is here as well.
Yes.
Although we have not gotten in it yet because it's just not a really easy access.
Right.
And but while we
now.
was at our present campsite, we had visitors, which
Yes.
are some of our YouTube followers.
Yeah, we meant to mention that before now.
Dolly,
and Jody. Dolly and Jody.
stopped by to visit.
right.
And they were from, I believe, Memphis.
Yeah, in the Memphis area. They were from the Memphis area.
And then just the other day, we had Chuck and Brenda,
Yeah.
who actually live in this area,
Yeah.
and they had come out just to look at the different campgrounds to see where they might want to camp one weekend.
Our trailer is highly recognizable, of course, and but we were real surprised that we had two folks while we were here that recognized our trailer and pulled up and stopped to visit, and we
And
had
that was just
wonderful
awesome.
visits. Yeah,
And we can social distance while visiting.
Yeah.
Because we all sit underneath our pop-up tent, and it's 8 by 10, so
Yeah.
we can stay distance and still have a nice visit.
absolutely, and we really enjoyed our visit with both of those couples, and they visited for quite some time.
Yes, it was very
sure
enjoyable.
enough. So anyway, more about the campground here. This particular campground has well over 200 sites, and they have a variety of camp areas that range from tent only to areas that are really more suited for small little trailers that still have things like electric hookup and things like that. And then they have some nicer areas where you have nice level camp spots, easy to pull up on the pad, very little involved in getting your trailer how you want it, 50 amp service, water at the site, so on and so forth. And we happen to be in one of those. Our particular site was
M. As in Mary.
M what?
8.
M8 is our particular site. Now M8 is not next to the water. In fact, there's very few sites here that are next to the water, and the ones that do have a view, and quite honestly, not much of a view. They're all sitting high up off the
We got
water.
lots of trees and woods, and as we were talking the other day, it's a kid's paradise.
Oh yeah, lots of pine trees. I mean, tons of pine trees here. Heavily wooded. It's all heavily wooded. But as far as having any kind of a lake access from any of the campsites in this particular campground,
Not
I
that
would say
we've found.
no.
You know.
Now, where we're sitting right now is a section they call Campground S, as in Sam, and this is, as you can tell, very close to the dam. They more or less turned this into a day use area right here, and for that it's neat.
Yes.
For that it's neat.
Yes.
But anyway.
We got huge boulders.
Oh yeah.
Just, oh my goodness, huge boulders everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And like Bill said, the dam is just right over there, so you can't go past that line over there. I don't know if you can see it, because you don't want to get sucked in when the water lets out.
They've got nice boat ramps. They got a
Huge boat parking place.
Oh, a huge area
Boat
to
and
place
trailer.
to
Boat
park your
trailer.
boat and trailer. Huge. Boating is big here. So if you bring your boat here, it would be perfect for that. Now the swim beach area, or what they call the day use area, the main day use area at this campground, they have you park, and where the actual day use area is to the swim
It's a
beach
good
and all
walk.
that is a long, long walk. Anything else?
I don't think so. It's been a wonderful stay. We've enjoyed it, but we're excited to move on to our next destination.
One thing again that we'll caution you about, if you enjoy a beer now and then, or a glass of wine,
Stock up.
stock up before you get here, because it is an hour in any direction from here to get those items.
There was a new thing that I forgot to look for. It was dry versus wet counties. Believe me, we have learned.
Yeah. So there you go. So we're excited about heading out. We're heading out in the morning on to our next destination, and like I say, that's going to be Lake Ouachita. We've never been to Lake Ouachita, just as we had never been here to Greers Ferry Lake.
Right. We are exploring new territory.
Yes, and then we have 2 or 3 other stops after that before we end up back in Northwest Arkansas for a brief period of time to take care of business. And then in mid-September, Lord willing, we will be headed towards the Gulf Coast. So we're real excited about all that, and we're tickled to bring everybody along with us, and we hope to improve. I hope to improve on my video shooting techniques. I do see a drone in the future.
Yep. That would be cool.
I do see a drone in the future, and I'm excited about that. We didn't do anything funny, and you didn't try to say something sarcastic to me or anything.
I guess I'm off my meds. Suppose that's it.
Well, you haven't had any wine in
See?
2 or 3 days now.
I know.
So don't worry, folks. She'll be back to her old self here in just a few days, because we're only 9 miles from a liquor store where our next destination is.
Because we checked that out.
Anyway, we're going to let you go with that. This is Bill and Deb with I Ride Tiny House Adventures, and we're saying we're not camping.
We're living.
Y'all take care. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye now.